Hello dear friends, today we'll talk about the additional news, not the main maybe news, because the main news I was discussed with a lot of my colleagues in my Russian YouTube channel. You should see there about the situation inside of Ukraine. Main dangerous news are there. So here we'll talk about the alternative news, very important but not so recognized, under considered news in the world and in the Ukraine also. China actually initiates the displacement of the dollar from the international markets, strengthening economic cooperation with a number of countries around the world. So Brazil and China entered an agreement to abandon the dollar in favor of their own currencies, the yuan and the real. The deal will allow China and Brazil to directly exchange yuan for reals and vice versa, instead of first converting them into United States dollars. Earlier, the readiness to switch to yuan in foreign trade settlements with the countries of Asia, Latin America and Africa was announced in the Russian Federation. In general, the world trade in 2021 was $28.5 trillion, 100 billion. It was a trade between China and Brazil, 80 billion between China and Saudi Arabia, 15 billion between China and Iran. Altogether, near 400 billion or even more billion. And this part of world trade, due the made agreements, due the announced decisions, should become a part without dollar. Is it means that the yuan era as the international currency starts? Maybe. But to obtain this main role, this role comparable to euro or to dollar for China currency, it needs more steps of introducing the yuan to the trade between the China and the European Union. It's near $500 billion every year trade, and with other countries. But this, in any case, this trend is very dangerous for the role of United States dollar and euro as the two main currencies of world trade. Moreover, this situation is complicated by the bank crisis and high inflation risks inside of their systems. And of course, the role of dollars depends on the internal United States political situation. I am talking about the indictment for the Trump, which was made by the New York big jury last days. This indictment, these claims from the judges were criticized from the Republican side of American politics. Personally, Trump said the next things. These thugs and radical left monsters have just framed the 45th President of the United States and currently the leading Republican candidate in the 2024 presidential election. This is an attack on our country like never before. It's also an ongoing attack on our once free and fair elections. This decision was also criticized by House Speaker McCarthy. He accused the Manhattan prosecutor of unprecedented abuse of power. And Florida governor and Trump's competitor DeSantis, where Trump's villa is located, where he lives most of the time, DeSantis said he would not assist in possible extraditions request for the former president, citing dubious circumstances of their case. The reaction of mass media in the United States still rather restrained and skeptical about the prospects of this case. The Wall Street Journal writes that the case is unlikely to have a legal impact on Trump's presidential campaign, because the United States Constitution does not require candidates to have a clean background. The Financial Times writes that formal procedures await Trump, collecting prints, photographing, asking for the guilty plea, and sending him to bail. It will be very unpleasant for personally Trump. It will be a very long, maybe a serial on the Trump's convictions. The New York Times writes that the news is expected by Republicans to boost Trump's campaign financials. That is an increase in donation even. Of course, these claims to Trump on the illegal financing of one porn actress in 2011, 2016, through his advocate, Mr. Cohen, who is in prison now, will make an influence of this presidential campaign in the United States, but it is very hard to talk just now what kind of influence it will be. Will become Trump a main insurgent for American political system again, or will become the Trump one more corrupted, bad-behaving politician in the United States? Only the time will show it for us. An Ukrainian case in this American election also will be extremely important. Under the pressure from representatives of the Republican Party, which are now a majority in House of Representatives in the United States, was reported on how the funds allocated to Ukraine would be and was distributed. McCaul, head of the Foreign Affairs Committee of United States House of Representatives, spoke about how 113 billion United States dollars aid to Ukraine will be distributed. Of these funds allocated in four packages, about 60% will go to the United States military and workers. Part of these funds will be used to replenish American stockpiles of weapons after they supply this weapon to Ukraine. Ukraine personally receives another 20% in the form of direct budgetary assistance directed to the implementation of social guarantees by the government, such as some so-called salaries, pensions, and so on. In general, in 2022, Ukraine received 32 billion external financial support. The largest financial assistance came from the United States of America, 12 billion, European Union, 8 billion, International Monetary Fund, almost 3 billion, Canada, almost 2 billion, Germany, 1.5. Foreign financing is provided in the amount of $38 billion on this state budget of Ukraine this year. In the international politics and informational space of Ukraine, questions about the leadership of the office of the President of Ukraine are again beginning to be raised. Most likely, at the suggestion of Western partners, the attack is carried out on the deputy advisor or to the head of the office of the President of Ukraine, probably in order to weaken the figure of the so-called Vice President of Ukraine, Andrei Yermak. This is largely due to the fact that Andrei Yermak, who controlled the main financial flows in the country and great political instruments, which leads to unconditional friction with the different kind of competitors abroad and inside of Ukraine. Thus, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor Office of Ukraine used the judge's decision registered a criminal proceeding on the fact of possible illegal enrichment of Andrei Smirnov, deputy head of the president's office. At the same time, an information attack began to spread in the media that the brother of advisor, one of the main advisors of the head of the office of President Mikhail Podolyak, turned it out to be a colonel in Russian intelligence. His brother, it was written, is a colonel in Russian intelligence. Also, starting from April 1, pre-war tax regulation in Ukraine, tax rates, obligation to pay, control will be gradually restored in Ukraine, which may lead to a rise in the price of whole list of goods and services by 10 till even 20% for food, fuel, transport services, and so on more. Also, in business cycles, there are a lot of talking about the restoration of inspections by state bodies and the imposition of significant fines. A memorandum has been imposed on all this since the beginning of the war. All these processes are connected with the search for additional sources of funding for the state budget of Ukraine. Also, deputy groups associated with Igor Kolomoisky are subjected to pressure from anti-corruptional bodies. Irina Kostinevich, a deputy from the for Future group, was за майбутнє for Future, found guilty of concealing property. The High Anti-Corruption Court of Ukraine awarded Kostinevich a 1,000 United States dollar fine and deprived her of the right to hold certain position and engage in certain activities for a year. Recall the Supreme Anti-Corruption Court is considering the case of another deputy, Sergei Shakhovу, on charges of non-declaring property and put him to the wanted list because his advocates said that now he is in Bishkek. Maybe it's, as I remember, it's a city when he was born. So political life in Ukraine, in the world, is still in very high level. And if you want to better understand what is going inside of Ukraine and to understand what is going in Western Europe, in Eurasian continent, I can only ask you to subscribe this channel. Also, I'm waiting for your question. I will be very happy to answer for all of them. Thank you, friends, for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace and prosperity, all of us.